Now, this is fun. Democrats are hitting the panic button. You can see The Hill is reporting it, and they're not alone. I've also got a story from CNN saying that Democrats grow anxious as election day nears. And that's because, as you can see here from Polymarket, if we look at this 1 week change, not so good for Kamala. And we thought that this diversion in the polls was something that resulted from the release of her 60 Minutes interview and from her new media blitz, where she's now going to be making the rounds, showing America who she is. And we've been waiting for this forever. We're like, great, put her out there. Yeah, finally, let's get to hear from her, because she's not a competent, capable person. And the markets are starting to see it. In fact, even today, you're seeing a little bit more diversion there. Trump going up 53, Kamala down to 46. Now, simultaneously, you'll see a bunch of polls. If you look around on a lot of the mainstream media sources, they'll say she's winning. Kamala's up 3, Kamala's up 4. You see it everywhere. I don't need to pull them up. But if she's up so much and winning, then why are they panicking in all of these various sources? The Hill says the following, writing that Democrat nerves are at an all-time high. Oh, crap. We should have stuck with Joe. 2 months ago, even a month ago, they were feeling bullish about Kamala's prospects. But now, with less than a month to go until Election Day, they're increasingly worried about a number of issues plaguing Kamala's campaign. In fact, on Tuesday, there was grumbling from some Democrats about 60 Minutes. Oops. There was concern on everything from the static poll numbers to the messaging, to even her standing with men. Not just white men, but black men and Hispanic men too. Now, some of this perhaps can just be chalked up to normal Democratic nerves. They tend to be very nervous, hysterical people in general. But it could be either way, it's nerve-wracking. It could be a close race, right? They could be way ahead. It could be close. Either way, it's nerve-wracking. They can't take it. Everything is deadlocked, and the composition of the electorate is unknowable. And there are so many things that are unprecedented, said Jamal Simmons. We can't look back with any level of security because we haven't had an African-American woman on the ticket. We haven't had a former president running again. We haven't had a campaign with 2 assassination attempts or 4 criminal prosecutions. We haven't switched out a candidate 2 months before Election Day before. Yeah. So it's all just hard to know. If you're not nervous, you're not paying attention. Democratic strategist Anthony Cooley, who served with Biden, acknowledged the trepidation. He says, yeah, there's pretty stagnant poll numbers coming out. Democrats were making comparisons previously between Harris and Obama. But now that the sugar high is gone, all of their indulgences, as they were just enjoying themselves, disgusting. We've got to witness it all. This is going to be a fight. These numbers are just so stubborn. People don't like Kamala. Interesting. Now, they say there is some good news, some economic fronts, string of new polls. They show her with the lead. New York Times, Siena on Tuesday said Harris is ahead of Trump nationally, 49 to 46. And here, Reuters Ipsos, 46 to 43, favor of Kamala. But it's about the battlegrounds. Oh, yeah. Polling average for the swing state shows that no one has a lead of even a single-digit percentage point in any of the 7 swing states. Democrats are the first to acknowledge that they have walked around in a perpetual state of fear since 2016. Oh boy, is that an understatement of the century. Yes, that's true. It's called TDS. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. And it started in 2016. They haven't had a cure since. Their whole lives have been uprooted based on this one man. Since then, they have vowed to keep the former president from returning to office. Says, we are Democrats. We are professionally nervous, says Tim Hogan. This is hilarious. So there is some actual awareness, some self-awareness. That's great. That's the first step in identifying the problem. You have to be self-aware. Oh, wow, I actually do. Yeah. We're professionally nervous, kind of. So that's good. Now, they found solid footing in organizing and messaging. Says there's confidence, but it's measured because the stakes are so high. Now, for the next 4 weeks, it's about channeling that energy. Asked about the state of the race, one major donor dubbed it a flip of the coin. Says, I feel better than I did last week, but it still doesn't feel great. I have a pit in my stomach. The donor attributed the feeling to several things, but mostly pointed to one major flaw. Says the economy, it's not working. The economy is issues number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. And she's been criticized for not doing interviews, but now she's doing a media blitz, which we're great. I'm happy. So we can't criticize her for not doing interviews anymore. We're really happy she's doing them. So is Trump. In the 60 Minutes interview, one Democratic strategist praised her comments, but at the same time, her comments fell flat. She's still fine-tuning her message 28 days out. And I'm sorry, but we are in the make the sale phase of the campaign, okay? We're not in the tweaking phase. We all knew this was going to be hard. It's going to come down to the wire, but no one knows how this will end. All right, so that's from The Hill. CNN is also catching the panic, says Democrats grow anxious as election day fears grow. Most Democrats are increasingly anxious over her fate. There's a growing sense her campaign is stuck in the mud as familiar debates prop up about where to deploy resources. Harris advisors dismiss the polls, saying the race is close, but just weeks shy, and after multiple blitzes and a debate that wiped away memories of Biden, the needle has barely moved, if at all. Brutal. Now that Harris is the first major party nominee in 6 decades not to have won a competitive primary remains a source of lingering doubt. Yeah, people are nervous, quote. They know the polls are tight. Further complicating efforts to rally the base, Democrats are struggling in some quarters to identify who that should be. Some are keen to win over GOP moderates who have soured on Trump. Suburban women are a key demographic. Others are trying to go get Hispanic voters. Worries loom about Arab Americans and younger voters, right? This is how they treat people. It's so gross. You're just trading cards. You fall into these categories. They just bundle everybody up into these little constituencies, group of Hispanics, group of Arabs, group of suburban women. They bundle them all up under abortion and diversity stuff, right? They talk about these little issues, rally everybody together, and then cobble them together to create a majority, so-called. The nervous energy, and now it's all fracturing apart because everybody in this list can be united in wanting to live in a safe neighborhood, wanting to have a good job, wanting to have sound currency that doesn't evaporate overnight. We can all agree on that. And they have not been able to deliver that for anybody. The nervous energy also stems from the simple fact of the racist slim margins. Harris's camp considers the 7 battleground states to be tied or within the margin of error, which is a problem for them because Trump outperforms those polls. Narrow paths, tight paths. Trump's people feel quite good about this. And it's also something that longtime expert on this stuff, commenter Mark Halperin, is also seeing out there. He posted this over on Two-Way. He says, I just saw some new private polling that's very robust. Private polling says that Kamala is in a lot of trouble. And conversations I'm having with the Trump people and Democrats are extremely bullish on Trump's chances over the last 48 hours. Extremely bullish. And of course, that matches what we're seeing here on Polymarket. Yeah, obviously. So this is being reflected in the private polls, right? They're all seeing that. In fact, maybe that's why some of these numbers are changing. People who have access to the real data are like, all right, time to swap some money out and make my claim over on the markets. So here is what it sounded like over from Mark Halperin.
We're talking about Harris a lot on this program for a couple reasons. Okay. We know what Trump is. We don't need to spend every episode talking about January 6th. We'll talk about it if people want to bring it up. What's happening now with Kamala Harris is this is an experiment. Can you win a short campaign with an untested candidate? And what I'm telling you is happening in private polling is she's got a problem now. Uh-oh. Okay. It's not cheering for Trump. It's not predicting Trump will win. She's got a problem. Please bring up the New York Times poll. So the New York Times poll shows her up 3 nationally. We all know that 3 is like the bubble point, right? If she's up 3, she's got a chance to win the Electoral College, but they'd rather be at 4 and they don't want to be at 2. So 3 is right at the bubble.
It's interesting because that's the margin of error, right? So why do they need to be up 4? Just to be outside the margin of error to give them like assurances? Because if this is accurate as it stands, she should win if it's 49 to 46. So why do the polls, they're always like so close. It gives them plausible deniability, right?
I'm not saying this Times poll's right. It's in line with other national polls. Now, bring up 102. Wall Street Journal has a story about Democrats really worried about 3 Rust Belt states. We all know from our contacts in both campaigns that Pennsylvania is tough for her right now. And without Pennsylvania, there are paths, but there aren't many. There's no path without Wisconsin. you see here, Tammy Baldwin's Senate campaign poll shows Harris down 3 in Wisconsin. We all said yesterday, Wisconsin and Michigan are looking worse for Harris than before. Baldwin has her down 3, not Baldwin has Harris down 3. Why is the Baldwin campaign sharing its polling? The Wall Street Journal, good question. Sean, why would a campaign share their polling negative for their candidate? Because they want more visits? Is that the reason?
So they come out there?
I think part of this is like a Hillary
Employ
Clinton redux,
resources?
which is that you want to make sure people understand what's going on. Plus, you're tied to it. Tammy Baldwin can't win if Kamala Harris loses.
She can. Yeah, she can. She can. I think.
Okay.
In a close race, she can.
Okay, maybe it's not a 5,000 vote squeaker, but I think part of this is to make sure that they understand this. But I will say this, and off topic, Alyssa Slotkin said the same thing last week in Michigan. This is
correct.
What we were talking about the other day.
Correct. Correct.
They are sending.
I think that's the challenge for Democrats is the trend lines, right? If you just go back now for the last 3 to 4 weeks in Michigan and in Wisconsin, not that Harris was up 7 and it went down to 4, down to 1. It's gone from 3 to 2 to 1 to tied. And at the same time, those Senate candidates, Casey, Slotkin, and Baldwin, are seeing the same trend line.
All much closer. All much.
By the way,
so
you
do it to sound the alarm bell.
Hitting the panic button. They're freaked out. Sound the alarm bell, and they're doing it. They're even adjusting what Kamala is actually doing and saying. And so every time we play 60 Minutes, they copyright ding us on this. So we'll be careful on this clip, and it'll be a little bit jittery so we can make sure we can play it.